welcome to Heard It Through the Rosevine, the podcast where stories bloom. I'm your host, Reagan Rohde, owner of Black Rose Writing, and today I'm joined by someone who helps bring those stories to life visually, our design director, David King. Hey, Dave, how's it going?
Yeah, it's good to be back in the studio. I'm the guy behind all the covers and a lot of the ads, and occasionally crazy stuff that Reagan comes up at 3 in the morning.
So joining Dave and I is one of our fan favorites, Gary Gerlacher, the man behind the A.J. Docker and Banshee series, and one of Black Rose Writing's best-selling series currently on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited. Good morning, Gary.
Hey, good morning. Excited to be here. This is actually my first podcast, so I'm very excited about this. I'll have to post it everywhere, but nice to be here with you guys and talk about the books for a little bit.
Yeah, so this is like a huge win for Gary, because your book has been a success. So you're not saying like, well, the reason my book is such a success is because of all the podcasts I've done. It's now we're taking another stepping stone into maybe reaching new readers here.
Yeah, hey, listen, there's always room for new readers. So anything we can do to get the word out, I'm happy to do it.
So today we're going to dive into Gary's newest release, Terminal Exchanges, the fifth in his explosive series. Plus, we're going to talk to him a little bit about balancing medical consulting, opening a new gym, writing, and a fictional dog named Banshee that's probably more famous than all of us.
Yeah, Banshee's kind of taken over the series. I wrote my main character, Doc, to be the main character, and all the readers who reach out to me only want to talk about Banshee. So it's really Banshee's world, and we're just living in it at this point.
So let's start with the big one, and that's Terminal Exchanges, our biggest launch in Black Rose Writing history. Gary, so where did the idea for this latest installment come from? And then obviously you can talk a little bit of your series, how they coordinate together.
Yeah, so my series, I'm in a different city for every book. And I basically pick the city ahead of time and just say, hey, I want to be in a fun city, and Miami's a great city, obviously. A lot of culture. There's a lot of variety there that makes it a great setting for a book. I am not a planner at all. I completely make up everything as I go. And my books always start with kind of a what if something dramatic happened to my main character, Doc, in the ER. And in this one, really not spoiling too much because it happens on page 3, I think. But basically, one of his patients gets killed in front of him in the ER. And that's what sets him off on the path to kind of figure out, okay, why was this person killed? Who else is at risk? He finds out that there's a woman and child who may be next. And, he feels obligated to go follow up with them and see if he can help save them. And as usual, it just kind of spirals and flows into a much bigger plot as it goes. So that's where I start. I just start with, hey, some guy's going to get murdered in the ER. We're in Miami. I don't know anything else. I have no idea who the other characters are. I don't know where the book's going. I don't know where it's going to end. But that's where I start. And then the other big piece is I always like to mix in a kind of a medical subplot. And this one, I wanted to bring in transplants, organ transplants, because it's a fascinating world. There's a lot of ethical dilemmas, moral dilemmas that are associated with it. Most people, fortunately, are not ever involved in organ donation on either donating or receiving. So there's a lot of mystery around it about what actually happens with organ donation. So I just start winding those two stories together and see where it ends up.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I love about your books and reading them is the medicine, aspect and the intelligence that you have from your experience, how believable they feel. Some of the procedures, the chaos in the emergency room, maybe, which readers seem to love. One of the things that might not be as believable is how your main character doesn't seem to age too much.
My main character has Jack Reacher disease. He doesn't age. Okay, Reacher is the same age he was 30 books ago, so it's okay. It happens. No, listen, I love the medical stuff, and part of this was always, my experiences in pediatric emergency medicine, but I've spent a lot of time in adult emergency rooms as well. And my idea was always, hey, let's give people a behind the scenes look of what really happens in the emergency room. What happens if there's a bad car crash? What happens if someone's delivering a baby? Even simple stuff, a broken wrist, a strep throat. But basically winding those stories in, and people seem to really like that. And it's a lot of fun to write those. And the funny part about that, people in the medical field write me all the time and say, "Hey, I appreciate your honesty and your accuracy, and this is what really happens. And I've had experiences like this." And people outside of the medical world will often write me and say, "There's no way this stuff goes on in the emergency room." So I just want to let you know it actually does happen in the emergency room, and there's probably even crazier and worse stuff that's not fit for printing that happens in the emergency room. So it's a different world in there.
Let's talk about your covers a little bit, Dave. You want to talk about how you and Gary have kind of, set this consistency from cover to cover, but they also have their own, individual feel.
Yeah, they're wonderful to work on. I put Banshee on all of them, and
he's not on the first. He didn't come out of the gate, though.
Right.
He didn't come out of the gate.
But we always managed to nail like the setting, and they're fast and clean. The lettering still pops on every one of them, so I hope that it's definitely helped sales as far as that's concerned, and we've really established a visual feel for the entire series so far that seems to be working. So, what do you think, Gary?
So I love them. Funny story about my first cover. It was more of a medical cover, and it had a patient, lying on a stretcher with a sheet over him. And Amazon actually banned that cover because the toes were showing on the person, and you can't show a dead person on an Amazon cover. And so we had to redo the cover to cover the toes. Or actually, we made the stretcher empty with just a sheet on it. But apparently, of all of the things on Amazon, the toes on my cover were the most offensive. Since then, yeah, I mean, Dave's been amazing because I remember specifically for Vegas, I told him, hey, I need the dog, I need Vegas at night, I need the F1 racetrack with the cars coming around, and I need an explosion in the background.
Yeah, that one was a lot, but it was fun to do.
They've got everything right except he put a Red Bull car on the cover, and I hate Red Bull, and I made him change it to a Mercedes car.
Yes, yeah.
But other than that, the covers have been spot on. I think they capture, each one captures the city we're in, captures some of the kind of emotion and feeling and drama we want to get going for those. Faulty Bloodline is right there in Montana, so it's more of a rural setting. Love the blood red on that. That's the busy one from Las Vegas, but Las Vegas is busy and chaotic, so it worked. Deadly Equation is obviously set in Washington, so a fantastic look there. And then this latest one, Terminal Exchange, is the Miami cover. It's just Banshee ruling the night in Miami, which is kind of what the book's about.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love how they look like movie posters to me. So I imagine they'd fit really nicely on like Netflix or something like that for a streaming series.
Yeah, I've actually been talking to an agent who is shopping it around.
Nice.
It's a long, complicated process, and what Hollywood wants this week is different than what they want next week. You're right; movies are very unlikely for a debut author, but those 6 to 8 part Netflix or Prime series, these books are absolutely set up for them. And if they did well, it would be multiple seasons, obviously, but. We'll get there. We're just getting started here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you're set. You've already got where you can film all your, each book. The cast, everybody get to go to a new awesome set every time. So locations built in there. Yeah.
Hey, quick question.
Yes.
This might be out of the blue. Who would play your main character?
Okay, so I've thought about this. Okay, are Banshee or Doc? No.
Man, I don't know any famous.
We got it.
I mean, they're all older ones.
My daughter has a very poorly trained German Shepherd. She wants to play Banshee in the movies. I was like, no, that's not how that's going to work. But when I think of Doc when I'm writing, I actually, and I'm showing my age here, I think of a young Matthew McConaughey. Okay,
Nice.
He's charismatic, a lot of energy, sarcasm, wit, humor. Obviously, a good-looking guy, athletic, decisive, can get things done. Now, no offense. Hey, listen, if Matthew wants to come and do the movie, he's welcome. But when I was kind of thinking about, younger actors or people more on the up and coming, couple names pop out. John Bernthal would be good. Oscar Isaac would be good. And then two that are really well known that would be phenomenal would be Michael Fassbender or Jeremy Renner. But I really think it's the charisma you need to catch. Because that's part of Doc's thing is he's in charge, he's decisive, he's a leader, he's charismatic, and got to be able to deliver that humor, that wit, that sarcasm. And then obviously needs some of the physical attributes necessary to pull off the character. But there's a lot of great people out there who can play it.
Cool.
Now, before we shift gears a little bit, what do you hope readers take away from Terminal Exchanges?
Listen, there's two plots in there, right? There's the action plot, and I hope you just enjoy it. Okay, I mean, honestly, there's not a lot to learn from that, I don't think, in life. Don't piss off the Mexican cartels would probably be a good life lesson, but should have learned that already, probably. The big thing I think is the kind of the moral dilemma that we put in there with the organ transplant scenario that's in there, because I created a really powerful woman who protects children for a living, and now her own child's life is at risk. And the only way her child can survive is if another child dies and donates a heart. And that's a tough situation. I mean, she's not wishing for anyone else to die, but she knows that the only way her son can live is if someone else's son dies. And, we get into the moral dilemma of Doc is actually taking care of both patients. And it's like, this one has to live for this one, or this one has to die for this one to live. And it's a huge moral dilemma. But at the same time, having them both die is not necessarily the right answer either. So just getting people to think about it, and then hopefully signing up to becoming an organ transplant donor if they haven't done so already, because that it's a horrible situation, end of life. But if you can save 4, 5, 6, 7 lives with your last donation, it's a great thing to do.
I'm on the list, or whatever. I have it on my driver's license. Yeah.
All right, there you go.
I'm not going to need them, so.
You want to be a giver, not a taker. Yes.
Yeah, if they're in any good shape at the time I'm there, you can have them.
So for anyone who hasn't gotten a copy yet or read Terminal Exchanges, it's available on Kindle, Kindle Unlimited, paperback, hardcover, audio, you name it. The Spanish version is also in the works. And
we even have an audio CD, and I don't think I've ever sold an audio CD. So I'm waiting for somebody to buy a CD set of one of my books. But yes, it is available.
Go to your library. Tell them you want the audio CD of Last Patient. But yeah, and then book 6, we've got Phantom Files March 2026, and it'll be in pre-order pretty soon. If not, by the time this podcast we schedule it, Phantom Files, you might be able to look it up and already get on that early pre-order list and see if we can break Terminal Exchanges pre-order records.
Yeah, I mean, this one's going to be fun. I've wanted to do this all along, but basically we're in Phoenix now, and this one is actually almost all based in the hospital. There's a serial killer loose in the hospital, and he's hunting down doctors, and we need to stop that, obviously. So there are, I've actually, I won't spoil this one, but the opening scene, I've thought about this a lot. Like if you wanted a dramatic way to kill somebody in a hospital, Not that I'm killing people in hospitals, but it's the writer's brain. But I really like the opening scene and what draws people in, and some of my early readers have really enjoyed it as well. So hopefully you will as well.
That one already sounds like my favorite. Maybe a little, still got the good humor in the hospital setting, but maybe a little darker than the other ones.
It's a little bit darker, and you'll like. There's a character Dirk who's based on one of my friends. He's a paramedic, and Dirk's this big German guy that I worked with. I made him even bigger and more German in the book because
Yeah, more stereotyped. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's a lot of fun in the book. He was a lot of fun to write.
All right, let's trim the roses a bit and pull some weeds here, and we're going to go inside the vine where we talk about what's happening in the world of publishing. So Dave, give me some thoughts on current trends with book covers and what you're seeing. Maybe even like, obviously Gary Gerlacher's got thrillers, so thriller covers, anything?
Yeah, with thriller covers, you're looking at like darker, high contrast, lots of action, big, bright, bold titles have been dominating as well. Something anything you can see at a thumbnail size. The best way to get that across is either a big central image, lots of like large, bold text, and a really good contrast of colors as far as dark to light works really well. Everything seems to be in the online space. Everything seems to be trending to like, again, the like streaming services, Netflix, Prime, stuff like that. Anything you could see really at a thumbnail is what we're looking for people to get clicks. So they got to be able to read it and tell what it is at a glance.
Yeah, readers scroll fast. Their ads get scrolled through fast, so you've got maybe a quarter of a second to grab them. Gary, we've kind of seen that firsthand with your covers, and going back to your Amazon ads. It's one of those things I think about. Like, man, what if we kind of gave up right there, because it was extremely frustrating. We had to relaunch Amazon ads, and even Facebook rejected the the body on the cover. And so, we had to adjust that, change the cover. We could have been stubborn right there and been like, no, this is the cover. We want the dead body on the, on the cart. And it's like, let's not change it. And that probably would have changed a little bit of the course of our history. But
Yeah.
not being stubborn and just being like, let's just, appease the ads and we'll see. We didn't have, big, we weren't like, oh, these ads are going to be killer if we do this, but obviously they did take off. So, I guess my question is how do you feel your covers have evolved over the series, but kind of obviously stayed in tune with the original working elements?
I think when we first came out with the first book, it was very firmly in the medical thriller genre, and we were pushing the medical portion of it. We're still in the medical thriller genre, but we're pushing the thriller portion of it. It's really whether it's a thriller with medical components or a medical thriller with a lot of action. I don't know. But you look at some of the other medical thrillers that are out there. They're probably a little heavier on the medical and not as much on the action. And I think the books have absolutely evolved to be more sophisticated plots. They're bigger plots. We get into international terrorism at some point. And so that's what I think has been the biggest thing. And the covers have evolved to show that. They've become more energetic. And they're the type of covers, again, as you're scrolling through that list of 5,000 things to read, if you're a thriller fan, you're going to stop for a second and say, okay, what's this one about? And I think that the medical thriller ones probably may not have drawn in as many thriller readers, pure thriller. Because honestly, like I said, it's the series is the I don't want to say it's copying Reacher. Reacher is kind of like the format for the series because Reacher's a loner who travels town to town. He finds something bad happens and he feels a sense of justice and a need to get involved and solve the problem and then move on. Doc kind of does the same thing, except he's not a vagrant. He's taking ER jobs. He's got a dog with him, which is really cool. Everyone loves a dog. And there's the medical component mixed in, and not as much of the pure violence that Reacher can bring to the story. But the idea is kind of the same, that he'll just keep going from city to city to city. And my goal is to get him to all 50 states. We've been 5, but we're not going to repeat it. I don't know what he's going to do in Delaware, but he's going to do something in Delaware eventually.
There's a lot of it. There's a lot of crime, a lot of excitement in Delaware.
Right.
But I've got some great cities left. I mean, I got New Orleans left. That's a phenomenal city. New York City is still out there for me. So
Yeah, and then
I'm
where you're
excited.
gonna, you can base it. New York is kind of like 5. You got to like a 5-and-1 there on like where to pick the location of this whole thing.
Right. So I mean that New York needs a big plot, and New Orleans needs a big plot. But then even the Montana thing was it was a fictional town, but a small fictional rural town, and it worked. So I think just kind of mixing those in, and big plots with smaller plots, or a big plot in a small town kind of thing. There's just a lot of options there.
Yeah, so we've talked about the covers in, we've talked about some of that at end. There's also the algorithmic side, and Amazon recently launched a A10 update, is what they call it, and it's kind of shifted the game a little bit. At first, it looked a little, some of the ads, kind of on our end, we could see spin kind of shifting, sales shifting. But it's basically Amazon is very quick to figure out ways to win. And if they're not winning on Amazon, they're going to try to win off Amazon. And so the A10 algorithm is rewarding traffic from outside sources like Meta, BookBub, author subscriber lists. And so now it seems like, as you're driving traffic to Amazon from outside of Amazon, they're rewarding us with the ranking and the organic searches and all of that. Like books are, those type of books are getting featured more, shown more on the product displays. And I feel like we're really in a good position because that's something with Gary, that's something we've already had established before this. And I know you follow your book stats, daily. What have you seen lately with the ad numbers and where you feel like sales and stuff are coming from?
Well, first of all, I just want to say to Jeff Bezos, I will continue to work tirelessly to make you a trillionaire. He, Amazon. Listen, for people that don't know, for small publishers, 99% of my sales are on Amazon. Okay, we do a few direct to consumer. We're in a couple bookstores here and there, but we don't have widespread distribution in bookstores. We sell on Amazon. Okay, that's where I sell my books. Um, so we're very sensitive to the algorithms and the changes and keeping the rankings up there, because that really determines everything. Um, you know, what I've noticed lately is that in a good way, we're actually spending less, but still having good sales. We're having a better, return on investment on those ads, and that's always a great thing, because I mean, there's a limited amount of money you can put towards ads, and at the end of the day, it's about reaching readers and selling books. But a few months ago, we were having to spend a lot more to sell a lot of books. Now we can spend less and still sell these books. And like Reagan said, I mean, we're actually doing more ads on outside platforms. I've gotten a little more aggressive with my newsletter, and sending out links and trying to drive people. But I just think it's hysterical that I already wrote the book for Jeff, and now we got to sell the book for Jeff, and Jeff takes the biggest cut of the book. It's good to own Amazon, apparently. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
we do get
yeah.
a chance to try a lot of different stuff visually as far as ads go, which is cool. Like, we haven't really decided whether the big image works or the big text works more, but we're trying. We're doing some definite changes one way or another just to see what the metrics are like. So it'd be interesting to find out which ones really dominate and help push the book farther.
yeah, every other week or so, I wake up to an email, because Reagan gets up at like 4 a.m. and starts sending out emails.
I don't think he sleeps.
Well, he may not sleep, but he recharges or whatever he does at 4 a.m. And then he'll send me an ad, like and some of them are great, and some of them like, dude, you had a bad night. That's not the ad. But no, I mean, we're always kind of throwing out new things, and it is nice because you can get real time information on these and say, hey, it's working, it's got a lot of throughput, it's selling, or this is not the right direction, go another direction. So you don't have to wait months to get information, which is nice.
Yeah, I don't know if I sent you the one. I made one recently. It's just a Mid-Journey ad, and it's a actual video, and it's just Banshee, or obviously, what we think Banshee might be to the readers, and it's like he's yawning and like just kind of yawning and like turning his head, and then there's a doctor in the ER behind him, and so that's it. It's just it's not like a trailer or anything. It's just a motion there, the added motion, and that one's been doing really well out of the gate too. I think because it's definitely scroll stopping when you see like a big cool Belgian right there with the big yawn and fun face. So yeah.
Gotcha. Hey, I'm going to put a shameless plug for my charity in at this point, real quick. So I started Banshee. For those of you who haven't read the book, Banshee is a police service dog. There he is. There's the coin. He's a police service dog who was injured in book one and had to retire from police service and became Doc's companion. Doc adopted him, and now he travels the country with Doc. And he's a service dog in the ER, provides comfort, but he's also, a war machine when he needs to protect people or do things. And he's been saved multiple times by his protected vest. So I started Banshees Pack, which is a charity that raises money to fund protective vests for police K-9 units, K-9 officers. And we bought our first one, and he should be receiving it soon, so I'll get some pictures with that. But it's a really cool thing to do. It's about $1,100 to get a custom vest for a K-9 officer, but does protect them. And a lot of small districts really don't have enough money, in their budget to get that protective vest. But those dogs are the first one in the house. Sometimes they're chasing people down. They're at high risk of being stabbed or shot. So everything on my website that I sell, and the commemorative coin that he held up, as well as any signed copies of my books. And I also have experiences where people can become a character in my book. 100% of those profits go towards purchasing the next vest for a police K-9 unit. So anyways, kind of cool. Banshee's, he's fictional, but he's saving real life dogs.
Yes,
so.
You can get you a challenge coin. I've got
cool
number
challenge.
2. I'm ahead of Gary's wife on the challenge coins.
My wife didn't want one. I got number 1. I need to send Dave one. You don't have one. I need your address. Send me your address.
We'll do.
So yeah, it's all about Amazon, all about sending readers to Amazon now instead of Amazon just waiting to find them. I think that looks like the future of our indie publishing. All right, we're going to wind down here a little bit with the personal roundtable where we stop pretending this is all business and just kind of talk about, like, Gary, how's life going lately? What you've got going on.
Yeah, so I actually recently started a job. I have a full-time job now, which is with a medical health company that we provide services to hospitals and large groups to make hospitals more efficient. Because I don't know if you know this, but doctors' offices are highly inefficient. So in the real world, I try to solve the problems I'm solving in my books. It's easier to solve in my books than it is in the real world. And then the other cool thing I'm doing is I have my daughters are competitive cheerleaders, but they're 26 now. They're twins. And we recently opened up a cheer gym with them. So I run the business side, they run the cheer side. Okay, I don't know anything about the routines or the music or the little sparkly bows or anything like that. I run the business side for them, but it's been really, really cool working with my daughters on that, watching them go from athletes to coaches to now business owners themselves. And then, in my free time, I've got to write. I am not a guy who writes every day. Some people write every day. I have things to do every day, so. I write when I have free time, quiet time, which is usually early in the morning before all the emails and texts and phone calls start showing up. And I write when I have something to write. So I'm always like thinking about the book and what the next scene is going to be. And I may write tomorrow. I may write it a week from now. But somehow it all gets done, and then my lovely wife edits the books for me, which has been interesting. We've been married 35 years, and nothing has challenged our marriage as much, probably, as working on a book together. But no, we figured it out. So we're kind of in a nice thing, and really now, my goal is to kind of get a book out every 9 to 12 months going forward.
That's dedication, man. I
Dave,
barely answer emails after 5.
Yeah. Dave, how's it going on your end? I saw your look, Dave representing. I saw Dave representing the Stars, and I got my Cowboys today. So we've got the good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
So
Cowboys one. That's when you know that's a true fan that I'm wearing it today. So we're gonna.
yeah, Stars won too. They keep winning. They're what, like 5 in a row?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just got to get past the Edmonton Oiler freight train.
Oh, nah. I think that train's running off the rails. But yeah, so I'm a big Stars fan as well, and my son just recently started playing for the Dallas Stars Metro Hockey League. We got him fitted for his goalie gear this weekend, so I'm shopping around for goalie gear as well. But yeah, that's really what's going on now. My daughter's about to start her next volleyball season, and we're playing up this season. So they are in 8th grade. We're going to start playing 9th and 10th graders because they did so well last season. So it's gonna be tough and fun. What else is going on?
On the dog topic, we our golden retrievers that we got. Mine was the boy, and Minna's was the girl. My wife Minna, and she had puppies. I think about we looked up the research, and I don't even know. I'm going to tell you wrong numbers, but whatever. However soon. It's like 7 months or 8 months to like 18 months. When they're ready to start having puppies.
Yeah.
I think she got pregnant like day one that she became a woman dog. I think, and so like we already have. She had puppies. The middle of the night before last, so day and a half ago. So 7 little golden retriever puppies. We got them.
Wow.
And last night, so we built them a good spot in Minna's office in our house. And so last night was like we decided to have a newborn again because they stayed in the house, and so I haven't got up that much throughout the night in a long time at home. And so, yeah, I was like, oh, good, this is going to be we got about 8 weeks of whatever, getting rid of these puppies. So Gary, what are you watching or reading right now? Anything that inspires your writing, or just, for your own personal fun time?
For reading, I try to keep up on all the thrillers that the big thrillers that are coming out. I read a ton of stuff from Black Rose Writing authors as well. We share books, and then I've really made a conscious effort to go back and read series because it's interesting. Like when you look at the Michael Connelly's Bosch series, Harry evolves from, being a detective to retired to a private investigator and then back on the, cold case. And he's aging and, his, Renee Ballard's taken over and his daughter Maddie has taken over kind of thing. And that's one route. And then I joked earlier about Reacher, but, went back and reread all the Reacher books. And Reacher is the same age as he started book 1. But that's just kind of another way to do it. And so it's really kind of trying to figure out where do I want to take my series, and where do I want to take this character going forward. And one of my biggest limitations is actually Banshee, because if I age Reacher, then I have to age Banshee. And if I age Banshee's, dogs don't live as long. And I have been threatened by no less than 100 people that if something happens to Banshee, they're going to hunt me down and kill me. So Banshee's immortal.
Yeah.
Banshee's going to make it through whatever gets thrown at Banshee. And then, on TV, we just finished The Diplomat. We're watching Tulsa King. It's interesting with Sly Stallone. But I just like those kind of short series. There's always something on Prime and Netflix.
Yep. Dave, what are you reading, watching?
Well, I've actually recently become a dungeon master again, which is funny. So I'm actually in the middle of Dragon Heist for Waterdeep.
Nice.
I run a campaign with my daughters and her friends, and we actually have Fridays coming up again. So I've been doing that. I watched the new Critical Role series that's out right now. Is they're playing, so I'm trying to keep up on that. And then to keep my mind busy, I've been going back through Aliens, and I'm a big Sid Mead and Geiger fan, so it keeps my art mind going, and yeah, they're probably one of my favorite series.
Nice.
Plus the new um, the new TV series that came out. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it was really good. So yeah, look forward to rewatching all those as well. What about you?
Awesome. I'm reading Pierce Brown. It's a sci-fi, kind of like a what's the Hunger Games, but more for like adults. Kind of
That
similar
sounds good.
concept out of the gate. It's really transitioned now that I'm in book 4. But I'll give a little plug to Matt Holmes and his wife. Matt Holmes is a phenomenal marketer, and does a lot of the ad courses that we've taken and worked with him on. But I'm also got his wife's series, which is like historical fantasy, more fiction, but with a fantasy element, called the Ancestors Saga. That's on my Kindle Unlimited list. So I'm gonna give his wife a shot here, maybe in the next few months.
Cool.
And then we're gonna give a little plug to one of our Black Rose titles and try to keep it themed with our show and guest. Since Gary is on, Gary actually reviewed this one, and it is, if you're a fan of Gary's books, then you probably will be a fan of Call Game by Graham Elder and Laura Cody. It just released last month. It's doing very well out of the gate, and Gary said it was an exceptional debut novel full of intrigue, surprising twists, and medical stories portraying the drama found every day in the hospital. So check out Call Game.
And true story, Laura Cody was my wife's roommate in college.
I didn't know that. Did not know that. Yeah.
I've known Laura for 35 years, so
Very
That's
cool.
awesome. All right, we're gonna move on to our little lightning round for Gary here, and then we'll call it a wrap. So Gary, let's hear some quick questions here. Coffee or tea?
Diet Coke.
There you go.
I never drink coffee. I'm the only doctor who doesn't drink coffee because it was always awful in the hospital, so I drink Diet Coke instead.
Not a coffee drinker either. I'm a chai tea. That's my go-to. That's what I have right here. My own homemade masala chai tea. Dave, what do you got? Coffee or tea? I'll give you one too.
Oh, I'm a coffee drinker for sure. Grew up.
And I think you like it. You prefer it less sweet, right? You don't want a lot of sweet. You're dark.
Black coffee's the way to go.
That's right. It's a man's man. Puts hair on his chest.
Yeah.
Early bird or night owl, Gary?
It's fine. Early in life, I was very much a night owl because most of ER takes place at night when it's busier. But I am now an early bird.
And Dave doesn't even have to answer. Dave is the rare both. It just depends on what day it is.
That's very true.
He's great. He can be great early, and then he can be great all night. And then there's no night owl. After 4 p.m., everything starts to slow down on my end. There's no, yeah. Driving in the dark does not sound fun to me at all.
I actually love driving in the dark.
But you should have less traffic. That's the number one win. Is usually the traffic is less.
Yeah.
All right, Gary, favorite place to write?
I actually do a lot of my writing sitting on the couch. and I write on my iPad. I don't write on a laptop. I do everything on my iPad. So if it's not that, it's either the kitchen table or my desk. But the couch is my favorite place by far.
Are you going to be one of those authors that decides one day you're going to get like a 19, I don't even know the year, I'm going to make up a year, but like a 1960s typewriter and like pump out some pages of words on that?
No, if I do, it's going to be sitting on my shelf and looking pretty, but no.
Yeah.
I make a lot of mistakes constantly. I change things constantly. I move things constantly. So no, I would die on a typewriter.
I type really fast, but I don't think I can type 3 words in a row without making like multiple errors in those rows. Part of my fastness is how fast I can delete and retype like 7 times on the same word.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fingers get ahead of the letters I type. Always get a letter ahead before the other letters. So yeah. Let's see. So dream crossover here. If Docker and Banshee were to meet with a fictional character, like Superman or someone in one of your books, who would it be?
I've got 2. Number 1 is Reacher. I think it would be fantastic for them to run into Reacher on their journeys, and you add Reacher's intelligence and brawn to the mix. Him and Banshee would be a great fight scene, I would think. But the other one is Harry Bosch. I'm a huge Harry Bosch fan. I think that's a phenomenal character. And all of mine are, Doc is kind of a minor detective. He do it himself detective type stuff, but getting involved with a real detective. A lot of my characters in books, minor characters in books, are actually police detectives, and sometimes I make them really good, nice detectives. Sometimes they're a little bit of a buffoon, detective. But a Harry Bosch would be a great thing too.
Well, have you reached out to Michael Connelly or Lee Child yet to make this happen? Like,
there's a level of authors, and there's a big wall between all of us and where they are, and I'm not in that club yet. We've sold a lot of books. I just passed yesterday 25,000 reviews on Amazon for Last Patient, which is a huge milestone. And we've sold over 300,000 books in the series, but we got a ways to go to catch up to those guys.
Yeah, maybe down the road. Maybe, Michael Connelly Child will be like, man, I really wanted to do a book where, there's a crime element in Delaware. And
and a dog and a doctor,
because that might be AJ and Bosch are meeting up in like Manhattan or something. That's gonna that's gonna be a little harder. But in Delaware, they might there's a good chance they might just cross paths and then work together. So yeah.
I have reached out to. I haven't heard back from her yet, but I've tried to reach out to Frida McFadden because obviously the medical thriller. She's a physician and has done absolutely incredible. If she did not exist, I would have more number 1 categories. But when you look at medical category or medical thriller category, it's her and I have 8 of the top spots sometimes. And unfortunately, she has like 1, 2, 5, and 6, and I have like 3, 4, 7, and 8 or whatever. But it's good company to be in, and I would love to work with her someday.
Well, that's all I got for today's episode of Heard It Through the Rosevine. A huge thanks to our guest Gary Gerlacher and thank you, Gary, and my co-host David King today. Don't forget to check out Gary's AJ, Docker, and Banshee series, including the newest release, Terminal Exchanges, and Phantom Files coming in early spring 2026. You can get them on Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com. You can get them from BlackRoseWriting.com, and then they're also, just recently the whole series is now available in ebook form with library distribution. So like Overdrive, Hoopla, Palace Marketplace. You can get Gary's books there. And last month, Gary, we had the most sales we've ever had for an ebook off Amazon. Obviously, it's kind of our first time being there, and that number keeps growing for a lot of our authors. So that's really cool. Getting a new source of revenue is always a wonderful thing. And if you haven't checked out Black Rose Writing yet, look us up Instagram, Facebook, YouTube for the new podcast reboot, starting with this one, episode 1. for new author interviews, behind the scenes looks of what we're doing and designing next, and all of our podcasts and everything. So we'll be back soon with another episode, another team voice, and another great story from the Black Rose Writing family. Until then, keep your stories blooming. You heard it through the Rosevine.